is also the unpopular choice. And that is John Adams signing into law the Alien and Sedition Acts, which really was probably ill-conceived. So, Federalists in Congress are getting frustrated with the Democratic Republicans. They're frustrated with their lack of support for Adams and standing against them and supporting the French and all these things. So they passed 2 laws designed to weaken support for the Democratic Republicans. Remember, party politics. The Alien and Sedition Acts are what they're called. So the alien part of the act was basically an attack on immigrants, making it harder for immigrants to get into the U.S., harder for immigrants to get citizenship, because typically most immigrants coming into the U.S. had been supporting the Democratic Republicans. So it was a way of trying to get votes from them. Number 2, and really nefarious, is the Sedition Act. And the Sedition Act allowed the federal government to arrest those who stood and criticized or committed the act of sedition, to question or to criticize your government. And this was designed to stop them from talking out against the Federalists. Well, most Democratic Republicans are like, wait a second, we have a Constitution. It's pretty new still, but is there. And the First Amendment to that Constitution says Congress shall pass no law prohibiting free speech. And talking out against your government and questioning your government, that's free speech. That's the whole idea of it. So this sedition law is attacking free speech. It's attacking free press, being able to publish something that's critical, free, honest opinion. Even if you talk out against the government, the snake's coming for you. And who is leading the charge against the Alien and Sedition Acts? It's none other than Tommy Jeffs, the Vice President of the United States. Imagine again, Vice President Pence leading a fight against President Trump. It just doesn't seem like something that would ever happen, but this is reality then. Woo, skipped ahead. Sorry. So Jefferson and Madison, who's kind of his right-hand man at this point, want to take the battle of sedition to the states. They feel that having state legislatures starting passing laws against the Alien Sedition Acts was the way to go. They didn't have support in Congress. The Congress is controlled by the Federalists, so instead they go to the states where the Democrat Republicans have, a lot of control in some of the state legislatures. And they go to Jefferson and Madison's own Virginia and next door to Kentucky. And they push for the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. This law argues that a state should be able to nullify or reject a federal law that they feel is wrong or unconstitutional that they disagree with. And essentially, the states can nullify anything that the federal government passes. It also states that if the federal government will not allow them to nullify these laws, they can break away. They can secede if the federal government denies them this right of nullification. Now, this is a bit dangerous. Now, they are right. The Alien Sedition Acts, were definitely unconstitutional. But the idea that a state can nullify federal law if it disagrees with it, then why have a federal law? Why have a union of states? And this would really weaken the effective power of the union of states, of a republic, that the Congress elects together laws that affect everybody. And this idea of nullification also is going to come into play because it's not just about the Alien Sedition Acts. It's really about that one thing that almost everything in politics leading up to the 1860s is going to be about: slavery. See, the Southerners want to be able to argue, well, we have the right to nullify laws that we disagree with, because later on, they're worried that later on, the northern states, which don't have slavery, are going to pass laws barring or infringing on their perceived right to own human beings as property, to own slaves. So they want to have the right to nullify federal laws in case the Congress ever passes anything that they feel is an attack on slavery. This idea of nullification is going to continue to come up again and again and again and again. Jefferson lays a seed with this nullification idea that's going to be raised during the presidencies of Andrew Jackson, all the way up through the presidency of Abraham Lincoln, leading to the U.S. Civil War. It's a big one. So you're going to hear that word nullify, the idea that states can cancel out laws that they disagree with or feel are unconstitutional. So, with the Alien and Sedition Acts now dropped and Jefferson victorious, and Adams pretty much weakened, he doesn't have the support of his own Federalists, and his own vice president has spent the past 4 years working and campaigning against him. He doesn't really have much of a chance in the election of 1800. Jefferson teams up with a New York politician by the name of Aaron Burr, and they run within this. Now, once again, there's no 12th Amendment yet, so they both run for the presidency with the idea that Burr would serve as his vice president. And then what happens is Adams doesn't get much votes, but Burr and Jefferson end up with an electoral college tie. So then the House of Representatives has to name who the president is going to be. And all of a sudden now, Burr might get named president when everyone thought it was going to be Thomas Jefferson. And none other than Alexander Hamilton will step in and throw his votes towards Jefferson, who he saw as the lesser of two evils, because him and Aaron Burr hated one another. Hamilton and Jefferson didn't like one another, but Burr and Hamilton hated one another. They're both from New York, had to deal with one another a lot, had a long history of controversy with them. And in the end, Jefferson will be named the president, the third president of the United States, and Aaron Burr will be his vice president. We're going to see that eventually, not too long after this, because of the numerous weird things that are going on with the vice president, the 12th Amendment will get passed, and we have the system where president and vice president get voted and together on the same ticket that we have now. And we're going to see that this is pretty much going to be the end of the Federalist Party in national elections. The next few presidents are going to be Democratic Republicans. We won't have a Federalist president again. And in a lot of ways, the Federalist Party itself is killed, literally, by Aaron Burr. When he is still vice president, even though at this point Jefferson wants to push him off of the ticket and running for re-election, in 1804, Hamilton and Burr meet in Weehawken, New Jersey, in a duel. Dueling was unfortunately fairly common during this time period. Most of them didn't end in death. The report was that Hamilton, at the last minute, feels bad about shooting at Burr and shoots in the air. And Burr, seeing now that Hamilton doesn't have a shot, levels the gun at him and shoots him right in the stomach. Hamilton dies the next day in one of the most famous duels in American history. That's right, the sitting vice president murdered the leader of the Federalist and founder of the Federalist Party and one of the most powerful politicians in America. Murdered him in broad daylight. And here's the thing, he got away with it. He was never charged with anything. Eventually, he's going to be fairly unpopular. Later on, he's going to be accused of treason for trying to overthrow some of our colonial possessions. But he lives out to like 1832, dies of old age. Yeah, and he murdered Alexander Hamilton straight up and got away with it. Pretty crazy. So, 2 questions, actually 3 questions for you. What is sedition? What is nullification? And define it in your own words. Find the definition. And then, why did Jefferson argue that states could nullify the Alien and Sedition Acts? Not just why were these laws wrong? Yes, you should touch on that. But why did they have the right to nullify? Okay. That's it for today. Hope you had a marvelous Monday lesson. See you all tomorrow.